spirit is rising, she's rising, she's rising. The spirit is rising, it's rising, it's rising. The spirit is rising, they're rising, they're rising. The spirit is rising.
Hi, Risa.
Hi, AMZ. Hi, Coven. Hi, listeners. Welcome to your Missing Witch prescription for the week. How did you survive? What was magic this week? How are you, fuck, AMZ?
I'm a human being,
Mm.
which entails ups and downs. We were just talking about this. I have a big bruise from where I had a blood test. And I don't mind. I don't have a problem with needles, and part of me, and I've actually written about this before, when I had to have a blood test and the clinic scheduled me for winter solstice. And I was like all bummed out because I knew I had to take the appointment, but it was like fully going to ruin my Yuletide celebration. But then I just like reframed it through my witch lens. And I was like, this is a winter solstice ritual bloodletting. This is, a ritual sacrifice in order to like get answers. Like it's a spell for hope and help and health.
And
It
how
looks like
funny.
solstices.
Yeah.
Solstices are my blood draw times, apparently. I mean, yeah, I have to have blood tests because of my thyroid medication. My doctor wants to test my blood and make sure my dosage is right and all that. But yeah, they always seem to fall on these on the solstice. So I think that's magical. And I'm willing to like rip the magic from the jaws of the terrifying always.
Fuck yeah. Put that on a shirt. It's funny. I was thinking about needles and knives this week, and that there's a chapter in our book, New Moon Magic, that is available for pre-order, called Needles and Knives. And I was thinking about that piece in there about having been described in terms of knives before in my life, that I've been too cutting, or that I cut right to the heart of things. That's like a balance that I wrestle with, like maybe it's my like Scorpio moon or something, but like the sharpness is something that I have been identified with, and I am still dealing with, like I recently like felt like I was put in a position where like I had to say like a painful truth to someone, and that has been like a bloodletting in that relationship, and maybe like, and all those people are getting together for the first time in maybe 10 years this weekend, and I feel so guilty for being the one who said the painful thing. But then maybe it's also the thing that allows for like a reweaving, so I'm sort of sitting with the complexity of that, and my guilt, and also so much excitement about seeing those people again. Just thinking also about that letter we read from a listener last week, that sometimes we're a little too sharp. We're trying to find that way to be honest and not shut ourselves up and shut ourselves down anymore, but to be honest in ways that are loving to ourselves and to the people who are vulnerable and deserve our protection. Like first and foremost, to be honest for them on their behalf. I don't know. I've just been thinking about that. I wasn't planning to talk about it, so I have no like casual segue into a song or anything.
It's all this needle talk got you thinking about it, but I sort of want to reframe that word sharp too, cutting and cutting to the center of things. But when we say someone is sharp, normally what we mean is they're intelligent, they're shrewd, they're astute. And I think those two things are related.
Totally.
You're smart and astute, and you can see what's going on here. You're sharp.
Yes.
And then once you've seen it, you have to get to it.
Yes. So then I did want to tell you this piece, and I didn't make the connection until just now, but I finally made the ancestor altar for Mark's mother this week. I don't know, it's just like a fit of tidying, and just like the objects I wanted to put there had accumulated to a certain point, and maybe it's solstice or the release of that ritual from last week that I talked about. I'm not sure, but also I finished reading Alchemy of a Blackbird by Claire McMillan. She'll be on the show soon. What a pleasure to read about this sort of story about the friendship between Remedios Varo and Leonora Carrington, these badass surrealist witches. But I finished it and I was like, oh, summer is when I read. Like, I more so than usual. But like, I need 7,000 books in the summer, you know, like I need to eat novels with my whole face. I need to eat books. So I go into my little witch cupboard where publishers send us books. I get overwhelmed. I can't deal with them all. So they go into a cupboard until I'm ready. But then I pulled out one that a coven mate had sent me, Sarah. May the god etc. bless you forever. She had sent me this rune book called Wild Soul Runes. And that was the one in the pile that was like, eat me. And I pulled it out, and it begins with this suggested meditation. So I made the new part of the new ancestor altar in the witch room that has all of these sort of different spaces to it. And then I did the meditation in the book, which, she encourages you to spend like a week doing a daily meditation following the mother line. She's like, male ancestors, non-binary, intersex ancestors will come to you, but we follow the mother line because that's the physical connection. We have all been inside a mother, and it's a painful and complicated path for many to go through, but that's the cave you can go back to follow this warp and weft. So you go down into this cave, the meditation's really beautiful, and then you welcome them one by one. You see who comes forward. So I'm sitting doing this meditation, so surprised and delighted by seeing my aunt, first of all, and her youth and her laughter. And she's like the one that like wants to sort of, I don't know, in my imagination, or that was the last photo I saw or whatever, I don't need to over intellectualize it, but I saw her, and then I started to imagine or see more of these ancestors. And then I saw, or I imagined, or I remembered my grandfather's mother, and she's in that Needles and Knives chapter 2. She was, she's the last ancestor in my life that I know of that like had to butcher animals on their farm. They were starving on this farm that only ever grew rocks. They were settler colonizers. They didn't know what the fuck they were doing with that land. And they were so poor that even though he had like a lifelong dream to be a school teacher, and he was such a gentle person and would have been a wonderful school teacher, she basically said, there's no money for your education and you have to leave the farm. And so he sort of did his best and got involved in banking and kind of got tangled up in con after con, and it's this like heartache. And then on her deathbed, she told him she always thought he should have been a teacher. Like, fuck you.
Oh, so typical. That's
So,
that hard part of having parents.
oh, that's so cruel, and I was just thinking about her, and found out only this year that people would come from all over for her to read their tea leaves. So she is this cunning woman, this cutting woman, this woman who had to make choices. She did mail away education to the point where she got like a master's in agriculture trying to save this fucking farm, like, and I just saw her and I felt his pain and I felt her pain, and I was sobbing in the witch room alone. It just came over me, ugly crying. I mean, beautiful crying. It was such a strange experience. I obviously got my period the next day. That's like a gateway drug for me to my deep, deep feels.
Mm-hmm.
But, and it is sort of a segue. So I, at the time, was also playing Celine Dion because Kathy had given me these Celine Dion CDs at a stage of her cancer, Mark's mother. where anything she offered me, I basically said yes to. You know, some things I donated or I gave away. A lot of her awesome clothes, Amy and I both own and wear. But I had these Celine Dion CDs, and we listened to so much Anne Marie and Celine Dion with Kathy when she was sick. And so I am thinking a lot about Celine Dion this week. It's also the Fête Nationale de Quebec. Fuck nationalism, but also like, let's try to love and salvage what we can from our broken racist histories and turn those things we can salvage to the work of loving and healing each other. And I watched this video of like a young Celine singing. It's like a behind the scenes video she released, singing Je chanterai. It's this beautiful song. It's in French, but the lyrics basically mean like, after everything is done, I will still be singing. Like, after all of our children's dreams become our hope for them, and when their pain and our suffering and like, it's I will sing, I'll sing, I will still sing. And you know, she just canceled all her shows. She's like trapped in this strange neurological disorder where she can't sing the way she wants to and she used to. And so to have this child, I mean, her voice, I don't know how old she is in these videos, but she's maybe 20. She was so young, singing that even after all of this is done, like, know that I will still be singing. And I just felt Kathy's like big heart in that moment. And Celine is like a Quebecois goddess icon. So I'm putting Je chanterai and the like pure indulgence of the emotion and also her power into my universe ironically.
Unironically is key. Yeah, you know, the thing about Celine is like, especially women of a certain age, you know, like Cece, they love Celine. You know, she's like the Barbara Streisand equivalent. And the thing for me was like, I never really got into like her genre, I guess, like the adult contemporary thing. But I've always said, even when I was like an angry punk with something to prove, I have always said, you can't deny her technicianship. You can't deny her talent. You can't deny what a phenomenal singer she is. And that's been like a connecting point for me and some of the, you know, more adults in my life. And now I'm kind of into it. I sort of like appreciate her technique, her ability so much that I can really like sort of let that like punk chip on my shoulder go. And like, I Drove All Night, it's a Roy Orbison cover, but like, if that comes on in the car, like, we're not changing it, you know. We're not changing it.
I saw that song described as Celine's anthem to consent, and I was like, fuck yeah,
right?
I Drove All Night. Is that okay?
Is that all right? Is that all right? Because it is, they're a little, I mean, coming out of Roy Orbison Smith, it's a little creepier, of like a man saying like, I drove all night, I crept into your room, you know.
It's not
like,
all right,
Roy. But then he's like, oh, is that all right? And you're like, okay, phew. You know, this isn't going as diabolically.
Totally. Oh my god. Well, and in this behind the scenes video for Je chanterai that I'll link to in the RX, I was laughing and thinking of you because there's a moment where I don't know who the audio engineer is, a producer, I don't know, could be totally famous, but she's singing and it's gorgeous. I mean, like you say, you just can't deny her technical mastery. I mean, it's incredible. And he's like, what do you think, maybe a click track to help keep you on the timing there? Like, the amount of times that Amy and I have been fucking around together recording something and she's like, how about a click track, honey?
Yeah, I mean, again, like, when I was coming up, I was a solo acoustic act. And part of the benefit for that for me was like, I could slow down and speed up. If there was like a very emotional lyric, I could fully stop because it's just me. But when you're performing for recording, you're recording for performing with a band,
a full choir in this case. Yeah,
right. Like, you have to be a unit. You have to be altogether, but both have their pros and cons, of course. We love to like be free and make decisions on the fly, but sometimes when we're a part of a unit, we have to click click. For those of you who don't know what a click track is, it's basically like a digital metronome. So tick tick tick, and you know that you're singing on the beat because the beat is going in and so on. And I've actually attempted to record and recorded several musicians who just couldn't deal with a click track, who I don't know what happens to them, but it just like makes them more off time, because it's like they're focusing on this tick 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 instead of what they're trying to perform. And that's kind of life. So and that kind of brings me to what I brought today, like this notion of like being magical and being plankton and being a flower and a unicorn and floating through the world in magic. But there's also sometimes you got to stay on the click. You have to put in the work, is where I'm going with this. And because it's Pride season, I have to start with Aretha Franklin, whose song Pride, A Deeper Love is about that. The lyrics are like, people, let me tell you, I work hard every day. I get out of bed, I put on my clothes, because I've got bills to pay. I've got a strong will to survive. I've got a deeper love inside, and I call it pride, a deeper love. Now I've got love in my heart. It gives me the strength to make it through the day. Pride and love. Pride is respect for yourself. And of course, this is a dance track. Pride, a deep love. But this is the real hook for me. Pride is having respect for yourself. What does pride mean? It means I'm not going to put myself down. I'm going to respect myself and who I am. But like Aretha says, like, you got to get up every day. You got to put on your clothes. You got to go to work. You have to put in that work. I mean, not just, that practical aspect that we're always talking about, where you do the magic, but you do the practical tasks as well. But just doing something that gives you that self-respect, that gives you that pride, that deeper love. Again, for me, sometimes on the solstice, it's like allowing a strange person to put a needle in my arm and draw my life essence out. Like, we have to do these things in order to have that deeper love that fuels us through the getting out of bed and through the getting dressed and going to work, and gets us through having bills to pay, gets us through this like crushing sense of capitalism and having to grind. But when I say, you got to do the work, I'm not saying you got to go earn money. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying more, which brings me to my next one, is the Holy Modal Rounders. There's a song, and it's funny because when you mentioned the farm where they only grew rocks, there's this song, scene in Easy Rider that this song is from that soundtrack, and it's a hippie commune, and they're really doing their best, but like, it's dust, they're seeding dust and growing dust. And there are two main characters in Easy Rider, and one of them says to the other, "This is dust, they're not going to make it." And the other one says, "Oh, they're going to make it." It occurs to me all the time, like when my brain says like, "Oh, they're not going to make it," whether I'm being shitty about somebody else or shitty about myself, "Oh, I'm not going to make it." And then I sort of have like Peter Fonda going, "Oh, they'll make it." But this song is called "If You Want to Be a Bird." And again, like, the idea is, if you want to, try it. Do something. It's such a delightful little song. And if you play an instrument, it's only 3 chords, and I would really encourage you to belt it out at full strength. But some of the lyrics are like, if you want to be a bird, why don't you try a little flying? It's just that simple. Why be shackled to your feet when you've got wings you haven't used yet? Don't wait for heaven. Get out and fly. If you want to be a bird, it won't take much to get you up there. But when you come down, land on your feet. So here again, we have this tension between like the magical and the mystical and the infinite possibilities, but also being grounded, like get your blood tests, get out of bed, get dressed, go to work. When you come down, land on your feet. So that's sort of what I've been thinking about the past few days, like pride being self-respect and not putting myself down. And also I want to be a bird. And if I want to be a bird, then I have to try a little flying. I have to. Why be shackled to your feet when you've got wings you haven't used yet? So I guess my prescription this week is to like find a deeper love, find your wings, try using them. Try using them and see what happens. And I mean that almost literally. Like, you can like put your arms out and flap them. And I'm doing this right now and see what happens. See if you can get your mind to like have that sense of figure eighting through the sky. But when you come down, land on your feet. You know, we are humans. We also have to do the practical work. We do the magic and we do the work. And again, that's my prescription.
Okay, I have to tell you, I forgot this piece even happened, but when I was cleaning off the top of the shelf where I ended up putting the Cecilia altar, which I keep wanting to call an ofrenda because that's what May calls all altars, because she read a book one time. I found this box with this half-used bath bomb in it, which like, okay, I'm a little bit messy, but somebody had given me this thing, and then our relationship kind of went south because of having differing ideas about masking during COVID. And it was, those days of COVID where we were all sort of shocked that people we loved weren't protecting each other, or that we just had these different ideas, and like neighbors and relationships just got cut, right, by how we felt about needles. It's so strange. And I just put it aside, like, yeah, I just put it aside. I didn't want to sit in a bath with it at that time. It didn't make me feel safe and held. And then I just forgot about it. So I was cleaning it off. But I remembered I was just going to compost it. But, these relationships are kind of healing now, strangely. And I long for that. I long for us all to just love and care for each other and find ways to care. And I remembered that they had put a stone in the middle of it for me that I had totally forgotten about. So I took a knife to it and like hatcheted this desiccated old fucking bath bomb apart.
I have to interrupt. Like, it's so wonderful that you hacked at it with a knife instead of like putting it in a bowl of water,
No.
or it had to be, again, this like a magical and practical thing that you did all at once.
Yeah, I didn't even think about putting it in a bowl of water. I thought the ingredients in it was handmade. I was like, this is not safe for anybody to soak in. It's like 2 years later. And I guess I didn't have the patience. I just hacked it open. And there's a beautiful pink moonstone in it. And my instinct immediately, because it was the solstice and it was the evening, was to take it outside and balance it on this curved piece of barn board. And after I washed in the lake and let it sit in the sun and I kissed it, I don't know, I get emotional. I'm like, you're free. And like, let's be free in the solstice setting sun together, And then I went outside and I had this feeling of like, I don't know, I reached my arms out wide like a bird. I was picturing while you were talking. But I also imagined, we are at this moment, like spring is here and summer is here. Like this is the one moment. They're here. We're here together. And like held my arms out and closed my eyes. And your arms get heavy. But I felt them get so heavy. Like I was carrying, like these seasons were sitting with me for a second. And I felt like the weight of time. And, like I said, I got my period the next day, whatever. So everything was really intense and emotional and just so alive. And there's something about those liminal times, those in between times, those releasing times. I just felt it all. I am feeling it all right now. And weirdly, I'm going to segue that into my last song, which is like a comedy rap.
Because of course it is.
You know, I don't know where else I could have gone, but I think I mentioned last week that I had like a fucking song in my head, like an earworm. And then Judy Sill, Rugged Road, got it out. And then afterwards, I told Amy I was watching Girls 5 Eva, and she was like, yes. And also, you ruined my day by mentioning it, because now all I'm going to hear is the Girls 5 Eva song.
Girls 5 Eva.
Yeah, exactly. But I had not at that point gotten to Big Pussy Energy. Now I'm there, and I want us all to be there together. So that is that's my closing RX, is to blast Big Pussy Energy. Get your dose of vitamin P, as the song says. Just enjoy the ridiculousness. It's Pride. Like, whoever you are, I am blessing you with a bit of Big Pussy energy. You can step into the Big Pussy energy. It's here for you. You have it. Let's own it. Let's walk down the street full of pride and Big Pussy energy.
Yeah. And whether your BPE is literal or metaphorical, it counts either way.
Hell yeah.
You can have it no matter what kind of genitals you're carrying around. You can have Big Pussy energy for sure.
Yeah. Big Pussy energy. BPE.
Yeah, and anyway. it really, if you haven't heard of Girls 5 Eva, it's really funny. It's really cute. It's the story of a girl group, like a Y2K girl group, that we revisit as they are now in their 40s. You know, some of them have children, but they're trying to sort of bring that BPE back, and it is hilarious. So if you're looking for a little laugh, definitely check that out.
Them like realizing how horrifyingly misogynist and also full of typos all their original songs were, and then writing their own songs and writing songs like BPE is just like the journey I needed. Paula Pell as the like middle-aged lesbian who finally wants to like mess around and live her life. I mean, I just love them all so much. Yeah,
all of the retrospective, like, wow, that was really horrible. And again, it was a different time, you know. Y2K was 23 years ago, and we didn't necessarily talk or think the way that we do now. And so it again, it's a really neat window into
gosh. And Busy Phillips, who I've loved since the moment in Freaks and Geeks in the car where she says that Stevie Nicks is a witch. Like, I have been obsessed with her, and she is a witch. She has a witch podcast. She talks about it. I just, outside of the witchiness, I just felt like this was a kindred spirit. Her humor is so light and dark and delightful. I fucking love her. So anyway, that's my silly summer prescription.
Busy Phillips, if you're listening, come be on our podcast. I'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, I mean, you're busy being awesome, but just know we love you.
You're busy being busy, I think was what you were looking for. So that's the prescription. Release things from book cupboards, stones from bath bombs. Release yourself from the shackles that have convinced you that you're not a bird. But remember, if you want to be a bird, it might require a little flying. So keep that in mind, and find that pride, a deeper love that is self-respect. Find it in a cupboard of books you haven't read yet. Find it hidden inside a bath bomb. Find it anywhere you can.
All the ways you've been sharpening yourself, all the ways you've been cunning and cutting. Find that way to hone that strength for its gentleness and protection, and for your own dancing, balanced delight.
And if you question it, just think in Peter Fonda's voice, oh, they're gonna make it.
And blessed fucking be.
Blessed fucking be.
World's drifting through me, and my life is all to me. I love myself and all me. I love myself and all of me, all of me. I love myself and all of me. Love myself and all of me. I love myself and all of me.
If you want to support the Missing Witches project, find out how at missingwitches.com.